Zula had never dreamed of getting married, and certainly never envisioned herself as the bride of a dog. But when her grandfather passed away, leaving her an inheritance of a house, an old couch, and Loko, a smart dog with glasses, her life was turned upside down. "You are to marry Loko," it said in her grandfather's will. Zula reread that line several times, trying to see if there was any mistake in the wording. Grandfather had always been a bit eccentric, but even for him this seemed a bit too much. However, the explanation was also attached. "Loko will help you get into university because it's your only chance. You can't do it without him. He is your guide to knowledge. And most importantly, you must marry him, or the magic won't work." "Magic?" Zula muttered, furrowing her brow. "Really? What nonsense." She soon realized that this wasn't just a will, but some crazy plan of her grandfather's, and it would have to be followed, no matter how strange it seemed. After all, magic or not, Loko looked like a dog, but talked like a professor. When she first saw Loko after receiving the will, the dog was sitting on the porch reading a philosophy book. He wasn't just flipping pages. He was really reading. And as soon as she approached, Loko looked up with intelligent eyes through his glasses and said, "Hello, Zula. I suppose you've already read the will." Zula stared at the talking dog, not believing her ears. Zula yelled so loudly that the birds in the neighboring trees scattered in panic. You're talking!" "I do, and it's not the only thing I know how to do," Loko said proudly, "and you really should marry me." "Are you kidding?" she asked in surprise. "Why would I do that?" "Well, first of all," Loko began, adjusting his glasses, "Grandpa knew you had to go to university. He saw how much you were struggling with your studies. I'm your chance for success. But the magic he used only works if we're married. If you don't marry me, I'll lose my ability to speak and help you study. All I'll be able to do is just bark." Zula snorted, trying to contain her laughter. Grandpa was clearly out of his mind if he thought I'd marry a dog. "And what kind of magic is that?" "The magic of knowledge," Loko replied seriously. "When you become my wife, I will be able to pass on to you not only my knowledge, but also patience, diligence, and logical thinking. Without that, you will never be able to go to university." Zula thought for a moment. Studying was really her weakness. She couldn't concentrate, she was easily distracted, and cramming was killing her. And then, a magical dog who offers her not just help but a whole program to help her succeed. But marrying a dog? "Loko, why marriage? Why can't we just live together and study?" Loko sighed as if explaining something elementary. "It's part of Grandpa's magic. He believed that knowledge was passed on through a bond based on trust and responsibility. Marriage is a symbol of commitment and dedication. You have to take responsibility for your actions. Going to university is not just knowledge, it's a discipline. And through marriage, you learn to take responsibility for your decisions." Zula thought again. Yes, she was often chaotic, lost things, couldn't organize herself. And here was a dog who not only read books, but also offered to marry her for the sake of success in her studies and life. Okay, she said after a pause. You've convinced me, but how would that even look? Do I really have to have a wedding with a dog? Of course. Loko nodded. We need a real ceremony for the magic to take effect. But don't worry, it doesn't mean we'll live like a real family. I'll be your husband, mentor, and friend, but we won't be intimate. Zula still felt strange, but now she was intrigued. Magic, a smart dog talking about philosophy, and a chance to finally go to university? Yes, the situation seemed completely absurd, but perhaps it was exactly what she needed. The ceremony was modest but fun. Loko looked really solid, wearing a bow tie and glasses. Zula's friends, whom she had invited, could barely contain their laughter as they watched her exchange rings with her dog. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the registrar said, not believing his eyes. You know what to do. Zula couldn't help herself and kissed Loko on the nose. Now, Loko said when the ceremony was over, our magic has officially begun to work. Ready for your first lesson? I still don't believe it's happening. Zula laughed, but let's give it a try. And so began their unusual family life together. After her marriage to Loko, Zula's life gradually began to change, but not in the way she had expected. Instead of romantic evenings or kisses at sunset, she got a clear schedule and a pile of textbooks neatly stacked by Loko. That's it, Zula, Loko said, poring over the papers. We have a clear plan. From 8 to 10, we study history, then a little math, after lunch, literature, and of course philosophy. Wait, Zula objected, barely awake and still in her pajamas. Do we start studying at 8 a.m.? That's a bit too much. Discipline, Loko replied sternly, fixing his glasses. Remember, the magic of knowledge requires structure. If you don't learn to control your time, the university will be out of your reach. Zula sighed in submission, but couldn't hold back a smile. After all, as strange as it would be to marry a dog, Loko had become a true mentor to her. They spent every morning going over their textbooks. Loko explained everything in an incredibly simple and engaging way. History through amusing anecdotes, math through humorous problems. It was almost like school, only better. Loko was not just a smart dog. He was a real walking encyclopedia, with an amazing gift to analyze any situation and always find logical solutions. Zula was his complete opposite. She was always forgetting study materials, losing notes, and living with absolute disregard for all plans. One day, when they were going over a complicated mathematical theory, Loko suddenly stopped. Zula, have you noticed that you've started memorizing much faster? Zula looked up in surprise. Indeed, before she would have spent half a day on such a task, but now she could do it in a few minutes. Yes, that's strange. Is it magic? Loko nodded. Exactly. Our marriage activated the process. Now I can transfer not only knowledge to you, but also my habits. You'll see. In a few days, you'll start thinking like a professor. Zula tried to imagine herself smart and organized, and it seemed ridiculous to her. But Loko was right. Her chaotic nature was fading away. Now she got up on time, didn't forget anything, and even kept a diary. One day during lunch break, Loko decided to tell her a story about her grandfather. "You know," he began, "your grandfather wasn't just an eccentric old man. He himself had a lifelong pursuit of knowledge and believed that intelligence was the key to happiness. But his particular philosophy was that it was only through commitment that true progress could be made." Zula nodded, spreading peanut butter on her bread. "So that's why marriage to you was important?" Loko hummed. "Exactly. Grandpa knew you'd never learn responsibility by just living next to me. It was only through marriage that you started taking it seriously. It's like a symbol of your willingness to make a commitment, even if it's just to your studies." Zula thought for a moment. She would never have believed that marriage, even to a dog, could change her perspective so much. After a year together with Loko, Zula was practically a different person. Now she wasn't just learning, she was enjoying the process. Loko turned out to be an amazingly patient mentor, who always found the right words to support her when things didn't work out. It was the day they had been waiting for. The day of the university entrance exams. "What if I fail?" she asked Loko quietly, sitting on the porch of their house with a sheet of notes in her hands. "You won't fail," Loko replied, as if it were a fact that could not be debated. "We've been preparing every day. Not only have you memorized all the facts, but you've learned to think, analyze, and most importantly, to believe in yourself. Now it's up to you." With those words, Zula smiled and took a deep breath. She realized that her insecurities were just a habit, not reality. She had worked hard, and now it was time to show what she could do. The whole day of the exams was stressful. Zula answered questions, solved problems, and wrote essays, all with incredible ease. Every time she hesitated, Loko's words came to her mind, as if he were right next to her. After the last exam, Zula exhaled a sigh of relief and sank down tiredly on a bench outside the university building. Loko, of course, was waiting nearby with a book in his teeth. "How was it?" he asked, noticing her coming out. "I don't know," Zula sighed. "I think I did okay, but it was so hard. I'm not sure." "You always say that," Loko remarked with a wag of his tail. "Grandpa would be proud of you, Zula. You've taken a big step forward." Several weeks passed, full of anticipation and anxiety. Zula looked in the mailbox every day, hoping for a reply from the university. But there was no letter. One morning, as Loko sat watching Zula make tea as usual, there was a loud knock on the door. It was the letter carrier with a large envelope. Zula held her breath as she unsealed it. Loko stepped closer, looking into her face, which gradually lit up with joy. "I entered the university," she shouted, jumping up from her seat. She began to whirl around the room, and Loko, though he kept his seriousness, could not hide the joyful gleam in his eyes. "I told you we'd make it," he said, his head held high. But this was not only Zula's victory, it was the beginning of a new chapter in her life. She knew that new challenges and difficulties lay ahead of her, but now she had Loko, her mentor and friend, who would be there to help and guide her. In that moment, Zula felt that their journey was just beginning. University was just the first step to something bigger. Loko, she said quietly, taking a seat next to him. What do you think will happen next? Next. The dog answered thoughtfully, looking up at the sky. Next, you will become even smarter, stronger, and perhaps you will find something you don't even know about. But we'll find out about that later. Today is your day. Celebrate your victory, because there are many more adventures to come. Zula smiled. She felt that this story was just the beginning. Yes, the road to knowledge wasn't easy, but with Loko by her side, she could overcome anything. Okay, she said with a wink. So how do we celebrate? Loko hesitated. Well, I wouldn't mind a book for the evening, and you, as always, are ready to celebrate more cheerfully and loudly. And they laughed together, realizing that they had an exciting new chapter ahead of them, full of learning, challenges, and unexpected discoveries. The end of part 1. But not the end of their story. May your life be full of joy and limitless possibilities. Thanks for watching. Be sure to share your opinion and don't forget to write a comment. Subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.